Today I'm going to be retracing the steps of actor Julian Sands, who disappeared while hiking on Mount Baldy in January 2023. Alright, so I'm kind of sure this is probably the area where he parked. And I'm saying that not just because there's cars parked here, but there's some trailheads right here that would have been within hiking distance of where they found his remains in June. He had disappeared in January. So I'm just going to give you a quick recap if you don't know about this story. Probably most people do. I'm going to have to admit, I had never heard of Julian Sands. Some people just kind of fly under your radar or over the radar. But I guess he really liked hiking in these mountains here. This is Mount Baldy, actually. Well, Mount Baldy is up here. It gets its name because there's not any vegetation on the very top, so it's like a bald head. And I guess he had done this many times. He wasn't a novice, but he made a couple of mistakes. I'm going to check that out. Look, it's snowing. I mean, it's not snowing, there's snow. There is snow up here, everybody. Oh my gosh. Funny enough, snow is not something I come into contact with very much at all. It's still kind of a novelty to me. Like, I'll probably run over there and make some snowballs. Okay, so this is a trailhead. This is the beginning. I suspect this is where he started. All right, so quick edit. It was January 2023. And it gets really snowy, very rough. You can see the very steep hillsides here. A lot of drop-offs. And he disappeared. And they eventually, of course, they came up here and found his car was sitting here. Cell phone pinged once, and no matter how many rescue teams, search teams, they sent out here, they couldn't find him. It wasn't until June, 6 months later, when a group of hikers who were doing this very remote hike in an area called Good Canyon, which you could get there from here, which is why I also suspect this is the trail. They were doing a really remote hike. I mean, you really had to go through some tough terrain, rock scrambling, bushes to get to where they were going. And somebody noticed a boot, literally in the middle of nowhere. And then they found another one. Then they found clothing, bones, and a wallet where his ID was found. And that was it. They didn't find a backpack. Things were scattered around. Nature takes its course. Probably were animules that came around. And anyway, that was the closure to that story. But there was a couple things that the hikers did not want to criticize. After finding this, it was weird because the hike leader had this really weird feeling that day where she was thinking to herself, I sure hope we don't find any dead bodies out here. You can see how this really drops off. Anyway, they didn't want to criticize considering all this, but they did notice he was not wearing any bright clothing, bright colors, which would have helped. He probably just, he lost his footing and probably just fell. He didn't attempt to make it. Well, you can't. There's no cell service here. He wouldn't have been able to call, but if he had well, there's two things. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. No bright clothing, And he was not wearing hardcore crampons, which are those long spikes, the long ones that you see people wearing when they're going up Mount Everest. He had little short ones. And that's just not going to cut through the snow, the thick snow that ends up covering this area in the winter. And the biggest risk he took was going alone. These are some serious acorns. All right, this is San Antonio Falls here. And that is top of Mount Baldy right there. So this is as far as I'm going to go, and I'll show you why. You can continue this way. Or you could start, get off the main trail and you can see how you can make your way up and over right there. I mean, that's kind of, that's getting into sketchy territory, but experienced hikers, will take these little skinny, funky trails. And Good Canyon, the sun is right there, but Good Canyon is over to the left. So who knows? Maybe Julian took this trail down to check out the waterfalls and then over to the left. I've since explained my idea to a friend who's hiked Mount Baldy many times, and he actually feels that that's probably exactly what happened. My mother has often gotten a little worried when I travel and fly especially, and she's always worried I'm going to die in a plane crash. And I tell her, if something like that happens, you have to remember, I was doing exactly what I wanted to do, and I was exactly where I was supposed to be. And sometimes it's just the way it is. Life is not risk-free, and there's some very big adventures out there that some people are compelled to pursue. Rest well, Julian.